Welcome to Look, Look and Look Again. We are at programme number 13 and we take this opportunity to look at a kind of follow-up to the Quatermass trilogy, sandwiched between both the Quatermass Experiment and Quatermass 2 that we looked at on our last show. Hammer brought us a lesser-known sci-fi movie directed by Mr. Leslie Norman. So, without further ado, it's... The Unknown could be viewed as a precursor to the film The Blob, as Hammer brought a congealed, creeping carpet of death to the big screen. The screenplay was by Mr. Jimmy Sangster, and the music was by Mr. James Bernard, and it kicks off a Hammer blueprint of what was to come. The story of X, the Unknown sees an increase in debilitating radiation burns affecting soldiers on a drilling exercise. Unbeknownst to those who were involved in the operation, the exercise itself causes a crack, which causes a mysterious ooze to squelch from the fissure. The entity begins crawling across the Scottish moorland, resulting in the deaths of villagers who stand in its path. Scientist Adam Royston, a Quatermass substitute, played with great gusto by Mr. Dean Jagger, commences an investigation, joined by McGill, played by Leo McKern, who is a chap from the local Atomic Energy Commission. Both try to fathom out what is causing this devastation. To their horror, the creature begins to grow and begins to adapt to the environment with horrific consequences. Not before long, everyone is under attack from a faceless menace as Royston and his peer group frantically search for a solution to stop the entity in its tracks. You're right in assuming that's wee little Jamie McCrimmon, that's little Fraser Hines, or running away from the radioactive mud by saying, "Jimmy, don't leave me here." X, the Unknown is a nifty little thriller that has the atmospheric mood of exclusive films, of what Hammer was, and the emergence in tone and sound of what Hammer is about to become. Although not particularly shocking to a modern audience, the movie is a highly entertaining slice of sci-fi schlock The radioactive mud creature is certainly a novel idea and somewhat grotesque as it slithers about and destroys people's flesh as it gets a hold of them. Kudos is also necessary for Jagger's role as Roynton, who would have made a very credible Quatermass if he would have been cast in the role in the other films. He's a lot better than Don Levy for sure, and probably would play the character of Quatermass without being pissed. X the Unknown is lesser known than the similar Quatermass movies, and makes one wonder if Nigel Neal had been associated with it, then just possibly it would be held as a classic slice of British sci-fi like its kith and kin. One of the most noticeable differences from the others is the threat from inner rather than outer space, although coming up with something just as deadly than anything beyond the stars.
Now, darling, why didn't we start doing this earlier?
I've given you enough encouragement, haven't I?
But you should have been more direct. You should have come up and said, Harry, I want... What the...
It's switched on. Must be your electric personality.
Stay here, don't move.
Leslie Norman, father of film critic Barry Norman, took to the director's chair as a quick replacement for the original director, who was going to be Mr. Joseph Losey, who was pulled from the production of X the Unknown due to his communist leanings, which would most probably scuppered a release for the much prized stateside distribution. Losey's presence also allegedly riled that of McCarthyite Jagger, which would have made the on-set atmosphere intolerable. The production for X the Unknown wasn't an easy ride, and Sangster reveals that absolutely nothing went right from beginning to end due to the bad weather conditions and the impact it had on filming time-wise. And this happened because a great deal of the time was used to rescue the filming equipment by digging it out. X the Unknown made its premiere at the London Pavilion in 1956. The Times newspaper heralded it as vastly entertaining. The film then done the rounds on a double bill with Clouseau's Les Diaboliques. When Jimmy Sangster saw the double bill, this inspired him, after seeing Les Diaboliques, to produce similar psychological horrors in his other Hammer screenplays. X the Unknown was released stateside in 1957. There was a slight hiatus as the film was made in 1956, and this was due to a slight delay in release between RKO Pictures and Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers argued that the film title was too similar to their drama Toward the Unknown, which was released at the same time. Warner eventually won their argument, preventing Soulless's distribution with RKO from releasing it, and handling the distribution to Warner instead, resulting in it making its first appearance alongside The Curse of Frankenstein. So, despite its ups and downs, X the Unknown is a very well made piece of science fiction, and I feel it deserves a little more respect than it gets. After all, we need to take into consideration that X the Unknown was a premium example of transition between two of the most important pictures in Hammer Films' horror canon. Currently, X the Unknown is unavailable in its own right on a Blu-ray edition. But fear not, for if you were to purchase the Quatermass Experiment, which is on the Australian Blu-ray release, tucked away is X the Unknown, and they have upscaled it as an extra feature. So, that brings us to the end of Look, Look and Look Again, Programme 13. It's been a short one, but so with regards to this film, if you decide to purchase the Australian Blu-ray, then maybe you can binge watch X the Unknown with the 3 Quatermass movies, as it's kind of like a cousin of it, and very enjoyable it is too. So until next time, when we look, look and look again, I bid you farewell and cheerio.
Spider. Okay.
Here, Haggis! Haggis, I've been thinking. Why don't you and me go to Glasgow on our next 48? You can show me the castle.
Hey, Spider, come here, quick! Look!
Ah! Haggis! Haggis! What's the matter, Haggis? What is it, Haggis? Haggis! Where are you, Haggis? Haggis?